And there's a difference between maintaining speed and taking your foot off the gas. I want you guys to understand that. There's a difference between maintaining speed and taking your foot off the gas. It's much easier to keep up than it is to catch up.
Hey, this is Blake Sloan. I've been selling real estate over 14 years. Our team of highly trained professionals, along with our unmatched marketing, has sold thousands of homes here in the Myrtle Beach area, and this is how we do it.
The key to success for anything, especially in the fourth quarter, is going to be this thing right here. It's called stop stopping. What do you think that means? Most producers hit a win and take their foot off the gas, right? Most producers hit a win and take their foot off the gas. We talked about this same thing in my warrior group. It was very powerful. And even talked about something biblically, which was interesting. I shared this with Joe, right? I went and read a lot, and it's something from Genesis. And he's talking about Isaac. In the story, he talks about, then Isaac sowed the land and reaped the same year 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him. And he said, the man began to prosper and continued prospering until he became very prosperous. What's the key part of that sentence right there? Continue, right? He continued prospering until he became very prosperous. That's a key thing, because a lot of producers, and obviously it goes back to the biblical point, but it's crazy how you look at that and relate that to what happens today. Most winners get a few wins, they stack a few wins, and they do what? They stop. And they got to start back over, and they lose momentum, they lose every bit of progress. And so every single time that we start over is harder and harder on us mentally. It's harder on us physically, because what do you got to do? You got to start pumping the well over, right? We talked about the Zig Ziglar story, where if you pump a well, the first while you pump is bringing water from the ground. Can you see the water? Nope, it's 100, 200 feet in the ground. You keep pumping, don't see anything, but you have belief, you have faith, and all of a sudden the water starts coming out. You pump it every time, what happens? More water comes out. But the minute I stop pumping, what happens?
Stops.
That doesn't stop, it does what?
All the way back to the ground.
Starts to go back down. So the longer I wait just to keep pumping, guess what happens? The more I got to pump to bring it back out. And so it's a mental thing. And how we combat that is through what? Through having clear targets and 90-day challenges. But we talked about one thing that's important, right? That we have this piece where people tend to get comfortable. And I want you guys to ask yourself the question, something we did too, is that where have you prospered and where have you taken your foot off the gas? Right? Where have you prospered and where have you taken your foot off the gas? I went through this exercise myself. Same thing me. My body a little bit. Guess what? You get through summertime, still work out a lot, still working out all the time. And then all of a sudden, take the foot off the gas on the diet standpoint a little bit, right? In business, I wrote down for me too, right? We had a lot of growth, I think 74% growth this year, which tends to break a lot of systems, right? Guess what I don't want to do? I have to go fix a bunch of damn systems. I don't like doing that. I like just selling more, right? But you can't do that. You got to be willing to go back and do the work in that piece. But ultimately, right, we got to make sure that we're going, where are you getting comfortable, right? Where have I had that happen? And take some time to write that down. And I was going to draw out something that we talked about. What happens is we all have this person, and in our example, we called it the guy. It could also be a girl. Obviously, my group's a bunch of guys in there, but you can also have the girl. What do they tell you? What's the guy in your head tell you? Man, you've done great the last quarter.
Great so far. Why don't you just go have a drink and celebrate?
You don't got to make them calls, right? You had a great quarter, right? And so I want you guys to look, the reality is, we all have this guy or this girl inside of us. And guess what? They're a dumbass. Right? They're going to tell you that ain't true because they want you to feel good and be comfortable. And so it's important for us to realize that we all have that. You know what? You already worked hard at the gym. You can eat that. Right? You can go to Chick-fil-A and get those fries or whatever it is in that scenario. And so we all have that person here that we got to be what? Aware of and in tune. It's important to understand that we have two ways to look at this. There's a trigger point, right? If I can figure out how to write this. There's a trigger point where you can look at this person, call it trigger. It's also, not good at drawing here, but it's also a gift, right? In terms of that, and that's a pivot point in terms of, hey, look, here's what I have my result. I did X, Y, Z. I worked for 3 months. I got some deals under contract, worked for 6 months. Or what's really easy right now is, guess what? We're 10 months in the year. I've worked hard all year. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to coast for the last 2 months of the year. And there's a difference between maintaining speed and taking your foot off the gas. I want you guys to understand that. There's a difference between maintaining speed and taking your foot off the gas. It's much easier to keep up than it is to catch up. But what people tend to do is they let all the way off. They just check all the way out. Versus just staying in the game and maintaining the difference they have right now, aka the progression that they have. So all that well water has gone back to the beginning, back to 100, 200 feet in the ground, and guess what? If I start pumping in January, when am I going to get paid? March, maybe April. You know, that's just how the business works. Why? Because we have a very high-ticket sales item that has a long sales cycle. Very simple to understand. Very high-ticket sales item that has a long sales cycle. So if I understand the psychology of that, I know it's a sowing and reaping business. I have to keep sowing, but the minute I stop sowing, all my crops can die. That's the difference, right? So if I sow for 6-8 months, and then all of a sudden, like with actual crops, if I plant them, sow them, and I quit watering them, about July, what happens? I don't make the harvest in August, September, right? So it's important for us to talk about. So most people tend to have what? This thing called a drift. Now here's the crazy part about the drift. The thing about the drift is very, very, very sneaky. Because it starts with one small thing. You know, I don't really got to go to the huddle. You know, I saw somebody on Facebook got sick, right? I don't know if I can do that. Whatever it is, we have the guy or the girl tells, man, you know what, you don't got to worry about that. And you know what, you don't. Because missing one huddle is okay, but then what happens? The guy gets louder. The guy's like, dude, you don't got to go that shit, man. That's a bunch of bullshit anyways. Right? Wasting a bunch of time. I could be making dials, right? Whatever it is, and then what happens? It's slowly, the drift happens, and all of a sudden I find myself where? In the pit. Pit's the hell of real estate. What sucks is in any business, and we talked about this in other business, this is where the reality of like, man, you know what? I hate real estate. This is terrible. Blake's an asshole, making us work too much, you know, all this stuff, whatever it is. This is where it happens. All the stories are running wild. And guess what happens then? You're going to fight for your life, for your career in a way. Because everything you do has doubt in it. Everything that you do in terms of yourself has doubt. The company has doubt. The business has doubt. And then the stories are running wild and wild and wild. All of a sudden, you have a choice to make. Do I fight my way back up from the pit, or do I just give up? Or do I just stay in the pit, which is, some people do that for a few months. Right? It's very, very important to understand that the minute I get there, it becomes very, very bad. So then what happens, a lot of people will pull through. They'll pull back through, and they come back, and all of a sudden, they pump the well again. But what's the problem with the well? All this work from where you were before brings me back to where? Deeper. Brings me back to where? Let's talk emotional. Go through this, I do really well. The trigger, I let myself off, I start to drift. All of a sudden, a couple weeks later, a month later, I realize I don't have any sales going on. My pending deals are down. And all of a sudden, I fight my way back out. But the problem is, when I fight back out, where do I go to? The beginning, which is what? Right back where I was. That's the craziest part. I fought twice as hard to get right back to where? Right where I were. And they call that, and we call that the false lift. Why do you think that is? I feel like I make progress, I fight hard, and I come back out of this pit, right? And this is in any business, but especially in real estate, because why? We have a long sales cycle, high-ticket items. So I fight my way from the pit. All of a sudden, I work hard, I feel good about myself, only to realize that what? Damn, I'm right back where I just started at. This sucks, man. This is frustrating. I got 3-4 deals, doing pretty good, get my deals fighting back, and then what do I say? Man, that was hard. That took a lot of work to fight back out. I just worked my butt off for 3 months and got a couple pending deals. Then what do? The guy comes back. The guy comes back and the guy says, man, you know what? Damn, you worked your ass off to get back to where you were last quarter. You know what you should probably do? It's Christmas time coming up. You know what you should probably do? Take a couple trips, man. You know, I might just quit working for a little. I might buy another dog too, you know, like, and then all of a sudden what happens? Whack to square one, to the pit, and this how everyone operates, and it's so crazy, and that's what we talked about. I taught this a while back, but I really got this lately when I got the guy and the girl piece, because we all got the guy. Like I mentioned, the guy's a dumbass. The guy says things that aren't beneficial for us, but they're a gift if we're able to realize them and find them. They call this the Karmic Cul-De-Sac. So if I ride my bike in the cul-de-sac, where do I go? No damn where, pretty much. I see the same things over and over and over and over in a circle. And most people in business do that every single quarter. And so the difference is, right? I have to be able to find a point over here where this piece is right here that has to be made. That's a decision. What do you think it is?
Keep going.
I have to make a decision to level up. Because let's say I'm already fishing, I'm tired of fishing, but I know that if I stop fishing, what happens? I'm going to go back to the pit, and that's where I don't want to be. That's the most terrible place in the world to be in real estate. I wake up every morning with that wave over my head. So I'm here consistently, over and over and over, because I don't ever want to go back here. Right? I get there a little bit sometimes. You can have a smaller one, but even here, if I can find the correction, come back around. But you have to make a decision here to level up. Now, what does that mean? Level up necessarily. You have to change you. There has to be transformation in you. And the big aha I had this, and Garrett talked about this last week, is that there's so many people in business that have been on the same Karmic Cul-De-Sac for 10 years. That you literally see them 5 or 10 years later, and guess what? They're in the same exact place they were from a number standpoint, same exact place from a life standpoint, relationships, any of that stuff, because why? They're not making the decision here to lift, aka next level. Two things that kill people here. Number one is a finish line mentality. What do you think that means?
Always searching for it.
If I can get to 40 deals or whatever, good. Right? Which is good, right? It's very good. But there's got to be this hunt inside to do what? To be hunting down the next version of me. And there's a difference between a finish line mentality and a target-based mentality. And we'll talk about that in a second. A finish line mentality and target-based mentality, which makes a massive, massive difference, right? I've got to always be hunting down that next version of me. The second thing that kills it right here is this word called comfort. Now here's the thing. Does it kind of suck to have to level up here at this point?
Sure.
Yeah, it does. I'm tired. I've been grinding this for 16 years. Think I'm tired? Yeah. But guess what? It's a lot better leveling up and doing the work here than it is going back down to here. Because the pit sucks, and guess what? It's more work to get back to the same place. And the one thing about business that we talk about, you never, ever, ever can stand still. Because the minute I stand still in business, in any type of business, if I'm selling widgets or hot dogs or real estate, what happens?
Fall back.
I'm going backwards.